So, for people who are probably wondering, like, how the level 80 grind playlist came about, it was in large part one that I started when I kind of was, um, I think I had beaten, I'm not sure if I started the level 80 grind. Like, I'm not sure if that was like pre Eternal Holy. Um, it I don't, I'd have to go back and see when that started and then also find out when I beat Eternal Holy, because if I beat Eternal Holy after the start of the level 80 grind playlist, then surely that was a factor in why that got started. I know for certain that Omega played a part in it as well, because a large part of the grinding, I think, especially early on in the level 80 grind playlist, happened outside of the Omega Shaft. Both of those bosses I've since beaten. Um, Clearly, at this point in time, I'm still not level 80, but it's something that got started essentially because of bosses that I couldn't beat, and has really continued on and off because I've been making progress by way of what I've been doing in the playlist, but also because I've beaten bosses like Eternal Holy and Omega. I dip back into the story every now and then. I was able to kind of fumble my way through the first part of the Void Realm, but got really close to beating the first kind of machine mob boss in the middle part of the Void Realm before kind of jumping the gun with like 22 enemies left. And I was using the ceramic blade version of the Joss build, and like I said, I popped the super with Leo probably, too early and lost. And that was when I told myself I was going to just finish out the level 80 grind come hell or high water, mainly because I just got tired of losing to the bosses in that game. I fumbled my way through the first part of the Void Realm, which is an area accessible after you beat the Guardian, which he was another boss I kind of fumbled my way through. It was the start of the level 80 grind so I could beat Eternal Holy, which I did, but that was, a grind to ultimately beat him. It was a grind to beat Omega, but he was kind of like a side boss in the level 80 grind. And so was Eternal Holy, but, both of them, a lot of the bosses in Fantasian for me have been very difficult, despite me being probably over leveled relative to the bosses levels, but that's just how the game has been playing for me thus far. Like, even when I reach level 80, there's still a chance I might attempt to finish out and or start a new playlist where I'm just like continuing something similar to the level 80 grind playlist, but it's going to be like a different playlist, probably titled something to the effect of like level 100 grind. And I'll more than likely be continuing that in the Falcon bypath as well. But I'm only bringing all of this up because it's gonna make finishing the game for me the way I want to play it more fun, enjoyable, and it won't be like with a lot of these bosses going forward where I'm just getting obliterated. I'm hoping that, surely after I reach level 80, possibly, if I get to level 100 after I get to level 80, I'm hoping it'll be like just a matter of me, it'll be a less like a war of attrition when it comes to these bosses, which is kind of how it's been thus far. Quite literally, when I'm battling them, it's just like I feel like it's always like who can outlast. And that's probably the case for most bosses when it comes to, RPGs, especially Square Enix RPGs. And I wouldn't want it any other way for a number of reasons, but Fantasian is kind of like I'm tired of getting my ass whooped, and as fun as that game is, it makes I have no problem doing something like a level 80 grind period, but especially in an area like the Falchium bypath. So to give people to finish out that playlist there and potentially start a level 100 grind playlist there and end it there as well would be I think like some real eye candy for people who enjoy Fantasian. Of course, while all of this is going on, I will be continuing to upload slowly but surely Pokemon Showdown to the second channel. If I stop uploading Phantom Breakers there for the time being, which I kind of have been over the course of the past couple of days, as disingenuous as it may seem, I might try to upload if I'm uploading 2 Fantasian videos every day, I might upload 3 Pokemon Showdown videos to the second channel, so 5 videos are getting uploaded there every day whilst I work on Phantom voiceovers, Final Fantasy voiceovers, and Dragon Quest voiceovers. And then on the first channel I'll do something similar. The only difference is I'm not uploading 2 Switch videos there of Legends of Heroes. It'll be 1 video and then 5 Pokemon Eternal Emerald videos, all while I'm continuing to make voiceovers for the other RPGs I'm playing. For what it's worth, I just kind of want to mention, I know I kind of brought up the YouTube gossips the other day, only because there's a lot of stuff happening around me in my personal life, and then which more often is the case more often than not, for better or for worse. But there's also things happening around me in my house that may or may not pertain to that, and because those YouTube gossips got made a while ago and still haven't been resolved, and stuff like that is happening to me, which is kind of nothing new if you live in America, but it felt like it was just kind of bubbling over again. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that those issues haven't been resolved. Unfortunately, I'll probably just let people know that the Pokemon Eternal Emerald playlist has been tampered with. So I'll put a hyphen on that playlist and let people know it's been kind of touched on by their end. But I had some issues the other day kind of logging into Clipchamp. It was telling me I needed to do it through my Microsoft account, which is something I never log out of. And then I couldn't do it for a day, and then the next day I was able to do it, but I still had to go through the prompt, which I had never seen before, but successfully got in after that. And then another issue I ran into was once I got in there was kind of an issue with me trying to get the audio to where I normally get it when it comes to Phantom Breakers, at least. And then I couldn't change where I was trying to change the audio quite literally in Microsoft Clipchamp for whatever reason. How I could have done it in the past with the directional keys, and when you slide it, there's only I couldn't reach 10, which is where I needed to be. So anyways, I guess the long and short of what I'm saying is, it seems like now is one of those times where it's flaring up kind of worse than usual, but I just thought it'd be something I mentioned.